Hello, and thank you for joining us for our first industry-focused webinar, Building the Future Manufacturing Workforce, Attracting, Retaining, and Funding Co-op Hires. My name is Domenica DeBellio, and I'm the Director of Employment Relations for Cooperative and Experiential Education here at the University of Waterloo. Before we proceed with the webinar, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm presenting today from the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee people. I respectfully acknowledge their ancestors and elders, past and present. Our main campus is situated on the Holoman Track, the land promised to the Six Nations that includes 10 kilometers on each side of the Grand River. As we come together today while staying apart, I also acknowledge that we are gathering on other traditional lands across the country. I acknowledge the enduring presence and deep traditional knowledge, laws, and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we all share these lands today. Thank you. As I look at the growing lists of people in attendance, I'm delighted to see the names of many current and past Waterloo cooperative employers. I'd also like to welcome those who are new and perhaps unfamiliar to Co-op. Whether you've arrived here by invitation from one of our partners or you saw something shared on LinkedIn, I hope you'll leave today with insights about the benefits of Co-op with actionable resources as you plan for the year ahead. If at any point you find yourself looking for specific information about hiring some of Canada's best and brightest, you're welcome to navigate to our virtual booth, accessible through the navigation menu on the left side of the screen. A member of our employment relations team will be available at the booth to answer any questions you may have about the hiring of our co-op students. Between supply chain shortages and delays, a global pandemic, and the growing need for qualified, reliable talent, the manufacturing industry finds itself at a pivotal moment. Decisions made today can impact and affect levels of productivity and competitiveness years down the road. During today's webinar, we'll outline some of the ways organizations across the industry can engage talent to help them reach their full potential. We'll also be joined by industry experts and employer champions who will share their insights into the future of work and the manufacturing industry. Starting things off, Brendan Sweeney from Trillium Network for Manufacturing, our webinar partner, will share observations about the state of the industry. Then my colleague Emily Burgess, business developer at the University of Waterloo, will briefly discuss attracting talent and creating meaningful work terms. Rob Maciel, regional manager for GTA West, will host the industry panel discussion. The panelists' combined experience within the manufacturing industry will offer some excellent perspectives on the future of the industry. We'll then have a question and answer period after the panel discussion. Please join us for additional programming, including breakout sessions and networking at 1 o'clock. I'd like to welcome our first speaker today, Brendan Sweeney. Brendan is the Managing Director of the Trillium Network for Advanced Manufacturing. Prior to his appointment with the Trillium Network, Brendan served as the Project Manager and Research Director of the Automotive Policy Research Center at McMaster University, where he also taught in the DeGroote School of Business and the School of Labor Studies. Brendan holds a PhD in Geography from Queen's University and a BA in Labor Studies from McMaster. Over to you, Brendan.
Hey, thanks very much, and thanks everyone for being here today. Brendan Sweeney, Managing Director, Trillium Network for Advanced Manufacturing. We're a provincially funded nonprofit organization that raises awareness of advanced manufacturing in Ontario. And our offices are located on the campus of a university that's not Waterloo, it's somewhere in London, Ontario. Anyway, here's the state of the industry. The state of manufacturing today. COVID has reminded us, or has confirmed to those who knew, just how important manufacturing is to Ontario's economic and social well-being. There's a moment here where we have a very, very specific kind of moment in time now where the general public has some real understanding, or has more of an understanding today than they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, about just how manufacturing is. I think we've also, whether it was semiconductors, whether it was PPE and vaccines, we're also in a moment where people are starting to realize that we can't always rely on other countries, especially those that are, with authoritarian governments, for essential goods, right? That supply chain security is increasingly important. So, at a high level, that's the state of the industry. On a more kind of day-to-day basis, and I think this is what a lot of folks are dealing with now. COVID has created a really unusual labor market and laid bare some structural challenges around that labor market, around work, around employment, especially among younger persons, among persons in their 20s, persons in their 30s. And, there's a lot going on here. But what we do know is that the earnings of persons in their 20s, the earnings of persons in their 30s has stagnated over the past 20 years or so, while everybody else's earnings have gone up. And so is the cost of living, especially the cost of housing. We also know we're in a kind of paradoxical situation today. It's high unemployment. Unemployment in Ontario right now, get this, unemployment in Southern Ontario right now is about twice as high as unemployment in Detroit. How's that for different? So unemployment's high, but everybody needs people. But there's a lot of job vacancies. The same time, so we've got to convince people to get back to work. We've got to incent people to get back to work. At the same time, we're to start working. At the same time, the competition for talent is real. The competition for young talent, for early career talent, is very real. And I can assure you, if you don't do anything about it, it's only going to get worse. We're on a demographic cliff right now. A lot of people in their early 60s in Southern Ontario. There's not that many 20-year-olds in Southern Ontario these days. And we're going to go right off that cliff in a couple of years. So if you plan, if you anticipate that you're going to need to hire persons in their 20s, now's the time to get started. And I think we also have to, this competition for talent, we have to be very clear. You're not only competing with other manufacturers. Martin Ray is not just competing with Magna. Right? You're competing with manufacturers in other segments of manufacturing, food processors, and competing with auto parts. And kind of more importantly, manufacturers are competing with other sectors of the economy for talent. And some of these companies have been very aggressive in marketing and themselves to prospective employers. Across North America, Amazon is probably the best example of that. And they've been aggressive in kind of what they've been offering to prospective employees. So, to some degree, you're competing. Manufacturers are competing with each other. They're competing with other industries in Southern Ontario. They're competing with other parts of Canada. And to some degree, now they're competing with the United States. Manufacturers have to go out and get people. Go get them. They're not lining up down the road anymore. And I can assure you, too, that banks, software companies, even the government, they want your engineers. They want some of your most talented people. So just be clear about that. Just be clear about with whom you're competing. So should manufacturers take a similar approach and start recruiting from talent pools that they may not have considered recruiting from previously? We think there's a lot of value in this. And my colleague Shannon will talk about that in one of the breakout sessions later. Can manufacturers capitalize on labor market conditions today and help younger workers build wealth and gain experience right out of the gates early in their careers, shortly after they graduate. Well, we think there's some value here too. But it's going to take some solutions. It's going to take some unconventional thinking. It might also take some conventional thinking. It might take some solutions that we haven't identified yet, but that we can start identifying at events like this. But certainly what we do know is one of those solutions is to make good use of co-op and work integrated programs like those or that at the University of Waterloo. Actually, an easy way there is maybe you're already making use of it. Make more use of it. Make better use of it. And I think that's what we're going to talk a bit about here today. And really excited to hear the strategies, the tactics, the solutions that the manufacturers on the panel and that our friends at the University of Waterloo have to offer. And I would just encourage everyone kind of to think about this. We're living in unconventional times. Unconventional times require unconventional solutions. So very interested to hear what people think about the types of unconventional solutions that are out there. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Brendan, for sharing those thoughts. It's so true. Now is the time to start thinking differently about recruitment. And that's why we're here today. I'm a business developer with the Co-op team and help companies access young talent. When you're recruiting from the University of Waterloo, you have access to Canada's largest next-gen talent pool. We have over 25,000 co-op students enrolled in over 120 programs. Over the past 4 years, 11,000 students have worked in the manufacturing sector on their co-op terms. This is a huge pool of next-gen talent that's already had exposure to the manufacturing industry. Our employers report seeing $2 return for every dollar invested in work-integrated learning. And with access to 75% in wage subsidies through the Student Work Placement Program, there's never been a better time to look at co-op as a talent solution for your organization. Students from the University of Waterloo can work across your entire facility in manufacturing. Don't only think about the immediate talent needs you have. What's your longer-term talent management strategy? The retirement boom is coming. Do you have a succession plan in place for all of these different areas of your organization? Students can fill roles like machine learning assistants, accounting, waste technician, and supply chain management. No matter what type of role you're looking to recruit for, we want to help you find the best talent for your organization. As Brendan mentioned, the landscape is more competitive than ever before. With the labor shortage and more talent having more options to choose from, how can you as a manufacturing organization stand out and attract the talent that matters most to your organization? Our WorkLearn Institute and data team did an analysis of over 37,000 co-op jobs posted on Waterloo Works, which is our internal job board system, to see what types of themes came true when looking at the number of applications that jobs received. These are those 6 core factors, something that any organization can include in their job description. For most students, their very first exposure to your organization is through the job description. So make it work for you. Include aspects about the values of your organization, the career development opportunities that would lie within the company, which are endless in the manufacturing sector. Talk about compensation. This doesn't simply mean you'll see higher applications if you pay more money. This all comes down to transparency. Be upfront with what the wages a student could expect in this role might be. Let's take a look further at one of these aspects, company culture. In popular media, we hear about company culture talking about beanbag chairs and foosball tables. But really, the core of this is what it's like to work for your organization. Students want to know that they're going to feel supported in a work environment and be integrated into your workplace. So how can you do this in a job description? Here are two examples of co-op jobs that were posted that received a large number of applications. In job A, they talked about a collaborative and inclusive culture and a work-life balance. Great aspects of company culture. Job B went more in depth and talked about their people, a diverse community, empowering teams, and fostering innovation, collaboration, and creativity. These are all types of words and language that's very appealing to next-gen talent. Job B saw over 50% more applications than Job A to their job posting. Think about and talk to your team about how you can really showcase the company culture in your organization to help attract talent to the job. Now, the work doesn't end once you've successfully recruited a new hire. It's important to look at how you're working with and engaging your talent in your organization. By 2028, 58% of the workforce will be millennials and Gen Z. You need to shift your workplace practices to make sure that it is an inclusive and welcoming environment for this next generation of talent. They're looking to build strong relationships at work, both socially and professionally. Provide opportunities for your employees to connect with one another. One of the most important things to Gen Z is feeling like they're making a positive impact on the work environment and completing meaningful work. Provide tasks that are a wide range of criticality and complexity. They want to work on tasks that matter. If you're hiring someone to work in your quality control department, help them understand how that fits into the larger picture of the organization and why their individual tasks matter. And providing opportunities to innovate. You will be amazed at the ideas that students bring forward. Provide them the opportunity to put their problem-solving skills to the test. We're looking at real-world complex problems to identify solutions to move your workplace forward. Now, what is meaningful work? What does this actually look like in an organization? Our WorkLearn Institute did an additional study that looked at what students reported as being relevant or meaningful work. We know that Gen Z cares deeply about making an impact, and it's important to look at how you structure your work terms to align with this. When it comes to an appropriate level of challenge, students that felt that they were challenged on the job felt it to be more relevant. Many manufacturing organizations need production line workers. It's one of those roles that you can never seem to have enough bodies in. This is a great experience for a more junior level student. This is someone that it's one of their first times in a workplace, and they're looking to learn on the job and figure out what it's like to be part of a professional work environment. These are a foundational work term for these junior students. It's the right environment that they want to be working in, but maybe not the longer-term career goal or job that they're looking to be in. With alignment to work, take a student that's studying an arts and business degree with a minor in HR. Recruiting this type of individual to your recruitment team would be a direct alignment with their field of work that they're hoping to end up in their career. They can then take these knowledge and skills and apply them directly to what they're learning in the classroom. Another great opportunity for co-op, and something I know for myself I found as well, it's really important to figure out what type of work environment, size of company, and industry is the right fit for you. It's also important to figure out what's not the right fit. And a co-op term can be a great way to explore those different avenues. You might be noticing a common theme here of students looking for social integration. Students are looking for the opportunity to have fun on the job while also achieving great work. They're also looking to be integrated into the team. Don't go into a situation thinking, oh, it's just a co-op student. They're going to work here for 4 months. They're an integral part of your team and can provide so much value to your organization. Treat them as you would any full-time employee in your organization. There has never been a better time to invest in next-gen talent. Young talent is adapting to an evolving work reality. With continued increases in the use of AI and technological advancements in manufacturing, you need a high-tech workforce to keep moving things forward. The manufacturing has been hit hard the past 2 years and continues to thrive. We need to come together to ensure talent is choosing manufacturing as a career path to continue to rebuild the economy. Your longer-term talent management strategy can be greatly impacted by hiring next-gen talent and hiring them now. So many companies are competing for these brightest minds, and you want to make sure you're in the running. And hiring has never been easier or more affordable. With funding of up to 75% that you can learn more about in our breakout at 1 p.m. today, there is no lower cost option in the market to recruit highly skilled, intelligent, and innovative talent into your organization. I want to at this time introduce Rob Maciel. He's a regional manager on our Waterloo Co-op team that will be facilitating our employer panel today.
Great, thank you, Emily. Good afternoon and welcome to today's Q&A panel session on building the future manufacturing workforce. As Emily mentioned, my name is Rob Maciel. I'm the regional manager for the GTA West region in the Cooperative and Experiential Education Department, here at the University of Waterloo. Joining me today are three leaders from across different industries in manufacturing. Jeffrey Lau is the general manager at Martin Ray International for the Allfield plant. He holds a BASc in mechanical engineering from the University of Toronto. And Martin Ray International, if you don't already know, is a global leader in the design, development, and production of lightweight structures and propulsion systems that address the automotive industry's current and future needs. Welcome, Jeffrey. Darren Weigard is an engineering graduate from Carleton University and has been in the metal forming industry for over 25 years. For almost 20 years, he has been using co-op students to assist in production, technical projects, testing, and continuous improvement. Darren has been involved in hiring over 230 students and has worked to develop a culture within the workplace that accepts co-op students. Welcome, Darren. And lastly, Davinder Kaur has been a supply chain human resource associate for 5 years. The last 3 at PepsiCo, where she hires all of the co-op students and new grads for supply chain within Ontario and focuses on their career development. She holds a BA from McMaster University and a postgrad certificate in human resources from Humber College. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. I'm very excited to hear all of your perspectives on the future of the manufacturing workforce. So with that said, let's get started. It's a small enough group today that you can just jump in with your responses to each of the questions as you have them. So for our first question, from your point of view, how could manufacturers provide meaningful experiences that will attract and retain students as the next generation of talent?
I'm going to jump in first on this one now. Manufacturers with meaningful experiences. We are seeing, like the automotive trade, as many people get into this without understanding how the floor works. And this is a foundational job for the co-op students. They can come in here, they work on the floor, they understand how things work, they understand pieces per hour, process, flow. They understand how the mechanics work on the floor. Going forward from that on how to retain the students, that's the difficult one for us. We bring them in, we're like the Marlies. We bring them in, we train them, the good ones then go off to the Leafs. So as far as industry and what we're doing, I feel we're doing something good because these students are now getting smarter on how things work on the floor. And no matter where they end up, they know what a checking fixture is. They know how fast the press runs. They understand the safety components of it. This is the foundations for engineers. If you're going to quote something, you got to know the process. And this is perfect for them to come in and learn all this stuff. I think it's better for the industry. Retaining, yeah, that's more difficult because everybody wants to be in the office when it comes to hands-on stuff. We did keep one co-op student who was an afternoon supervisor now. So he stuck it out. He learned everything. And yeah, he's a key guy in the afternoons now.
I was going to chime in terms of So for the question, why manufacturing provides meaningful experiences. So first of all, the biggest thing is that you really understand the business from ground up. I know a lot of the times when we're interviewing co-op students, they're looking for opportunities where they're project leaders, they want to be coordinators, they want to do analyst types of work, they want to work on these great grand projects. It's very important that they understand what we do at the manufacturing level where we actually produce our products. Without understanding what the production side really does, I don't think that you can add much value when it comes to those larger projects. You're making decisions kind of in a dark room, and it's not very beneficial. From our co-op opportunities or any manufacturing opportunity, I think you learn a lot of soft skills that you can take away to either growing in that organization or moving to another organization. Is how do you act like a great leader? What do you do when it comes to active listening? How do you lead your team and use that inclusive type of approach where there's that trust? Working with frontline staff and working in a manufacturing facility also teaches you a lot of humility. You see how hard they work. You have a lot of respect for the way that they work. They're putting in a lot of hours to produce whatever it is that they're manufacturing, for you to understand, hey, you know what, when I become that project engineer, when I do move into those elevated types of roles, I want to keep in mind that, you know, for X machine and X machine, that was an issue that we would typically face. And this might be the right solution from maybe a labor perspective or an engineering type of perspective. You take away a lot of transitional skills. It's a very fast-paced type of environment, so a lot of critical thinking that you take away. So really, manufacturing is going to give you the key skills when it comes to the engineering aspect or the business aspect or the HR aspect. But there's a lot of general knowledge that you'll take away, which really helps us retain a lot of our co-ops, because whether you move from manufacturing or you go to sales from here or you go to HR, you can go to any other function, but the key learnings that you take away stay the same. So those don't disappear. You'll now be able to better have those difficult conversations. It is not easy having conversations with frontline staff who are a lot older than you. For us, we do have an older workforce. So some of them have been here since they were 15, 16 years old. Some of them later in their 50s or early 60s. Some are great, while we have some bad apples. And how do you navigate that type of conversation with them to keep them, you know, engaged and performing every single day? We have to have the right co-op student in that place to do that. We keep our co-op students very engaged, and I think all manufacturing industries do this. Is it's not just about doing the day-to-day tasks. It's also getting you to think critically and giving you that project work. It may not be a huge project, but it could be something as small as, hey, we want to reduce wastewater, or we want to reduce our carbon footprint. A lot of manufacturing industries are looking at a more sustainable way of running their businesses. So you get so many opportunities to look at some of those creative projects, and it might just be a small little piece, but it gets you to start thinking that way when you come back as another co-op, or you choose to come stay with us full time.
Well, I guess it's my turn to chime in, Rob.
Please do.
Yeah, and I respect a lot of my colleagues' comments. They really resonate on many fronts. I want to talk a little bit about the history. Martin Rios has been doing, summer co-op as well as co-op student work since for almost 10 years now. And we have had very successful. Right now we're in 2019. I think it dropped in 2020, and 2021 it has really climbed back. Almost 100 students in the organization, 31 of which is in my facility alone at one time in the 4-month span. So just imagine the plant, the size of 500 employees. You have like 30 students in here, and co-op students working with incredible diversity in their schools, as well as their studies. So it's not just engineers, but we had anywhere from people in biology, music, whatever it is. And one of the things that attracts these students into manufacturing really is your vision for manufacturing. And one of the things that we do here at Martin Rios, we have a very clear vision to make lives better and actually leverage a lot of the new ideas coming up. So as example of this, student program that we have here, having them work on one of the most cutting edge ideas, having them bring forth the most cutting edge ideas have been very, very successful for us. We're producing things where our processes could use artificial intelligence or machine learning. We accepted a grant from NGen as a result of that for developing machine learning and artificial intelligence in processes. We've gone as far as building our own autonomous intelligent vehicle that travels in the factory that's completely 100% built by students. And these students are using cutting edge technologies, for example, vision-based guidance systems instead of LiDAR, something that very few companies try to achieve. And these are done by students. And how is it that we are able to provide this to them is because we're very open-minded to their ideas. We want to see, let them learn about our processes as Devinder has suggested, really learn it from the fundamentals or its first principles or the science behind every single process that we have. But having the opportunity to have an open mind to say, I'd like to know about what is it that we can do that is pretty much the most cutting edge in open source technology, for example, instead of using industrialized technology only, has made it such that it's very attractive for a lot of students because they understand that ecosystem extremely well. They're in those boards more often than we are. I myself, as an engineer, I'm really amazed by the level of people that do engineering work that's not even an engineer. They're solving problems on our floor. And so one of the ways that we attract and keep them retained is the fact that we create a kind of like a student group. As a result of being millennial and Gen Z, as Emily alluded to earlier, we really look at very innovative ways to engage with them at their level, learn about their generation, learn about how they do things, instead of really, as a manufacturer, always thinking that we have all the answers. It's a really humbling approach to it, but our CEO, Pat Duramo, talks about it, and Rob Wildeboer, our chairman at Martin Ria, constantly talks about learn how to unlearn for us. And for the students, I guess I always tell them, go and learn. As a student group, we invest every single 2 times a week, where executive levels are, including myself, that steers the entire the plant, sit down with them and they give up their lunch and we actually have a talk with the students where we talk about the latest in management MBAs, for example, what's happening in Google. I myself go down to these types of companies to learn about their latest in management and their latest in innovation. And that really helps us to be the next generation company because as Brendan Ashley stated, we're not competing as manufacturers only for talent in our manufacturing sector. It is not Magna. My greatest challenge, I think it's Amazon, and I think it's for here especially, and Google, and a ton of EV startups and a ton of autonomous vehicle startups. These are the people that are trying to attract. We even have competing offers for somebody that does autonomous sweepers that are competing for the talent that we have in Martin Ria. So it is really important that we create a environment that lends itself very, very well to the Gen Z and millennials. And what I found was by doing so, by learning what they do and what they do extremely well, collaborating extremely much faster than we do, we learn to become the next generation in manufacturing. Our engineers are actually very invigorated because of the fact that the student program year after year, throughout the year, for the last 10 years, have made leaps and bounds and pushing them to push harder in innovative activities throughout the factory. Manufacturing, I do believe manufacturing is going to leverage the next generation technologies as much, if not more, than a lot of the other technologies or industries out there. Simply, that attracts a lot of students, right? Because as we build things that, we built our pickup truck for General Motors, for example, we do nearly 1.8 million vehicles. And what does that mean when you build as that many vehicles? Well, your processes lends itself with a tremendous amount of data. Data scientists get really giddy with all this real live data that is based in science and based on physics, and then apply machine learning neural nets as advanced as the general neural nets to try to find solutions that are multi-variable that nobody can solve readily and easily through regular manufacturing meetings. And that's exciting to a lot of these students when we talk about let's engage the next generation technologies. So we can really affect how we retain students, and we can really affect the fact that we have the jobs of the future in manufacturing if we really learn how to unlearn, as I've spoken before, and open to the possibilities of having these types of students enrich our thinking. They do everything. They do project management themselves. They certainly do a end of year presentation that really, year after year, as Darren was telling, they get smarter and smarter. I can't imagine. Every year I keep saying this is even better than last year, right? The technology they're developing or the ideas they're putting forth, and we're putting it right out. Would have known that a factory with 300 Raspberry Pis gathering as a distributed neural network would work in manufacturing. $40 computer that's networked throughout the entire factory would create such incredible outputs, and enthusiastic students provided that for us, and of course supported by the engineers that are invigorated and really keeping up and having very meaningful work. So I think we have a great opportunity to retain and to give meaningful work to our students as manufacturers.
I appreciate that, and specifically going into some of those opportunities that you're providing your students during the work term, and perhaps Darren and Davender, you can elaborate a little bit more. But as Emily mentioned during her talk earlier, what we find is that students are looking for that meaningful work experience, and manufacturers have to be able to present the job and the work term as presenting that to the student. So perhaps you could share some examples of meaningful projects or initiatives where co-op students have made an impact at your organization.
So 90% of the co-op students that we hire, we're actually using them on the production floor. And it's more difficult for us to sell this job of how is this meaningful. So during the interview process, I'm explaining to them, this is your foundation job again. You're going to learn how stuff operates. You're living in an episode of how it's made. And then through the term, we educate you and you'll understand stuff a lot better. So other valuable things we get out of the Waterloo students is we have unique projects such as UL testing. We produce our own metal roofing here, and we have to do testing, hail specs, and wind uplift, and all these kind of things. So this is a round peg round hole for us. So I need somebody to do this little project, go to Waterloo, post exactly what we want to get done. They show up. We know nothing about the testing. They contact UL. They do the whole bit, all the testing. I go to my office, dropping ball bearings from the ceiling. Like they've handled the whole thing, which is awesome. And we also have other little jobs, like say market analysis or some MRP roles, value stream mapping. Again, round peg, round hole. We'll go find a specific student to get that job. So it's awesome for us when we have something that's very unique. We post for that unique job, and we can get the right skill set to come in and do that for us. But yes, back to majority of our co-ops, yes, 90% is production workers on the floor. And we got to sell it to them that this is just not a waste of time. You have to understand how things work. Usually when they do their evaluations halfway through the term, they enjoy the workplace, they enjoy the people. We have a co-op culture on the floor. We're 60 people. And we've had mixes of like 60, 65 people full-time and 10 co-op students. And our people work excellent with them, showing them how the equipment works, how to do the quality checks. I do get emails from these students down the road. So 2 years, 3 years, Darren, I get it now. I'm working at Tesla. I'm working at Toyota. If they never did this job of working on the floor and understanding the part quality and how things work, those doors would never have opened for them down the road. So it's tough to get to the door and do this selling of the foundation. But once we do it, like I feel awesome that these kids get some really nice jobs down the road with these other tier ones, the OEMs.
That's perfect. Thank you. And Davin, do you have anything you want to add to that? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Oops, I always find myself doing this. So we do offer our co-ops a lot of meaningful projects and different initiatives that will make an impact in the organization. Your objective of being a co-op here is not to do administrative work. We're not getting you to just fill out Excel sheets. We're not getting you to just follow up on data. That is far from what we do. We really get you to start thinking critically about how to solve the problem. So if you are working in a manufacturing facility and have worked in a manufacturing facility before, you'll understand that downtime is something that really impacts the way that we're running our facilities. You want to have as minimal obstacles as possible. PepsiCo, our Cambridge facility specifically, has been going through a huge growth expansion where we've been growing our warehouse, and a lot of it has become automated. With 1,200 employees in our facility, there are tons of lines that are running and operating on a daily basis. And there are a lot of issues in terms of things breaking down and having to think about how does this machinery actually work? What are ways for us to use different softwares to find the critical information that we need to optimize on time? And how do we actually push this product out? And how can we push this product out a lot quicker? We have very aggressive metrics, and our co-op students who come from either an engineering background or a business background is typically the type of profile we find wanting to work in a manufacturing industry. It is crazy how intelligent these kids are. They come up with the greatest ideas of, hey, you know what? How come no one ever thought about this small little switch here? Why have we not eliminated it yet? It would have reduced downtime by 5 minutes. And I know 5 minutes sounds like it's a very minimal amount of time, but it makes a huge impact when we're pushing out thousands and thousands of chips on a daily basis. Sustainability has been a key pillar for us for the last couple of years. I mean, it's always been our top priority, but ways to reduce our landfill goes back to some of those engineering projects that we have. Our co-ops are working very aggressively with external vendors as well. We don't have all of our engineers working at our plant, so we do work with external vendors who come into our facility offering us solutions of, hey, maybe you need to change line 6 into this, maybe line 7 should be like this. So we do have our co-ops who will work alongside with them to possibly counteract some of the suggestions that they're offering to us, or, you know, work and collaborate with them to find a better solution that they may have addressed. With automation being the biggest piece for us, we expect our co-ops to go in and work with our frontline staff to understand some of the issues that they're working or some of the issues that they're encountering on a day-to-day basis, and figuring out a Kaizen project that outlines what those problems are and finding solutions for them. We give them the resources that they need. Resources don't only mean the money, also the tools of these are the softwares that you'll need, and also the people you need to partner with. So you get a lot of opportunity to network and work alongside directors, plant managers, show your ideas and showcase those, so that when you come back as a co-op for the following term, you can kind of work towards that project. It's probably going to be halfway or a quarter done by another co-op, but you're really kind of picking up parts from what other co-ops could have potentially done as well.
That's great. Thank you. And something that both you and Darren were touching on is that the co-op students are bringing a lot of initiative. These are eager, very smart and very skilled students. And Jeffrey, perhaps starting with you, what would you say are the most valuable skills that Waterloo students are bringing to the table so they can have a real impact on your workforce during that work term?
Yeah, I think particularly in Waterloo, right? Because we hire a lot of students from all over, but in particularly the question for Waterloo, one of the nice things is I think they come with an open mind. They're not afraid to try. The whole co-op opportunity in Waterloo enables them to try this term, and another term they can try something else. And I feel that gives people an open mind. That's one of the things that we really value in this place. So we have a number of co-op students. We also, as a result of the co-op program specifically at Waterloo, being off-stream and on-stream, allows us to have continuity in our projects. Our projects are quite complex and they're quite difficult to achieve in just a 4-month term, although we have very good, clear, expectations for them. I mean, they expect themselves to accomplish certain goals within the 4 months. The Waterloo students, can actually network within each other. Not that it's exclusive to Waterloo, but they more easily, because you've got 4 months and then another 4 months, and I have a lot of returning students. In fact, I have many Waterloo students that come back every single term throughout their term in Waterloo, for example. But that's number one. I mean, the open-mindedness and the culture at Waterloo has enabled them to fit into our culture in Martin Maria really, really easily. And I think the other thing that's really possible is that don't just think that you're a manufacturer, therefore you got to have certain type of people. They come in and they see a problem and they try to solve it, or they're trying to see how something that never existed before can be applied or implemented. These are some of the major advantages that we see from students, in particular Waterloo students as well.
That's great. Thank you. And Darren, Devinder, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I just wanted to say the Waterloo students get a lot of realistic and practical experience from school. I've noticed that the co-ops that we do interview at the first year and second year level are very advanced for first and second year level students. A lot of the group projects that they're doing at school and they're partnering with their professors or TAs is realistic experience. They're not just given a made up project, asked to be worked on it. A lot of the questions that they're being asked at school are realistic problems that are happening in the real world. So when we do interview them and they don't have co-op experience, they have a lot of knowledge and experience from their group projects. They're being worked very hard at Waterloo. You can tell from their answers. They go into a lot of technical detail. I've had co-ops who will say, I have a great presentation that I've worked on, or I have this PDF. Can I share it on my screen with you to show you some of the technical projects I've worked on? They're not just asked to read from a textbook and understand the knowledge. They're being asked to use that knowledge and use it in a practical way. So that's always great. It's nice when they do already have co-op experience working in a previous organization, but PepsiCo is not opposed to taking on first and second year students who don't have any experience, because we do know that Waterloo is putting the time and the effort in to get them the experience from the projects that they're doing at school.
Perfect. That's great, and it's also helpful that your organization sees the breadth that the first, the second term, and the later term students will offer for sure. Darren, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
I'm just going to add that our co-ops, we hire them, we're about 95% first term or first time co-op students. So it's a little bit different there compared to finding an engineering student. If I want to do my UL testing, yeah, I'll go grab a fourth year, fifth year student. But the majority of our students are first year students. And what I like about Waterloo, they went to Waterloo because they want the co-op program. So when they show up here, they want to impress, even if it's just making, they try to make twice as many parts as the older folk here, and it's entertaining. But that's what Waterloo brings with those students.
Definitely, and that's the main attraction to the school for sure for a lot of our students. And now that we've talked a little bit about all the unique skills that they bring to the table and the opportunities and the work roles that you bring forward for them, and Davide, perhaps I'll start with you with this one. When you think about the recruitment and hiring process, how are you adjusting your onboarding approach for students so that they have a successful work term? You're on mute again.
Oh, there you go. For our onboarding process, it's a very structured process. We make sure that every single co-op coming in is getting the same type of onboarding program. We do a lot of meet and greets. We think it's very, very important for our co-ops to meet with all of our senior leaders, other managers in the business. PepsiCo is very focused on co-ops. I would say most salaried employees that we hire have come from a co-op program. 80% of our workforce comes from co-op. So it's very important that we take it very seriously. So the first 2 weeks, you're getting a very strict onboarding plan where you're learning the general knowledge of what does PepsiCo do. You're doing a lot of e-learnings to learn about the business, the historical information. We do present out a lot during our onboarding about where can your career take you possibly here from this co-op opportunity. So we'll give you opportunity to speak with individuals who have started from a program similar to yours. So we'll typically have, I would say at least 50% of our co-ops coming in within just Ontario are coming in from Waterloo. So we'll change our speakers every term of people who once came from a co-op, now are new grads or are possibly now in a director role, to kind of present out, how did their career get here? What did they do? What were some of the challenges? It's very important that we talk about the challenges because we don't want to paint it as a beautiful picture, because there's definitely those hardships. And then you're always partnered with a mentor who either did the same program as you or came from the same school as you, to make sure you can connect on, hey, you know what, this is what my professor taught me when I did program X, Y, and Z. Were these some of the difficulties that you were challenged with back then? Just to kind of connect with them and build that relationship so that co-op is inclined to want to come back and work for us. You'll see later in the month 3 or 4 of their co-op term, we'll do something called Surf Week, where you'll get an opportunity to go visit other sites and other areas of the business so you understand the business at a bigger perspective. So you're not just learning that one little sector that we put you in. We want you to understand it at a larger scope now that you understand this one area of the business. So that's kind of what onboarding looks like. At month 2, we'll start getting you to start doing presentations with the leadership team, to start talking about things that you find as opportunities. Where can we change our business for future co-ops? And then at the 4th month, which is typically 2 weeks before you end your term, you do another presentation, which ends off your co-op term with, these were some of the key learnings I took away. These were some major projects. These were some of the impacts I made to the business. We really want to see, what did you bring for us that another co-op was not able to do? So we give you that opportunity to kind of shine, and all the co-ops will present during that call.
That's great. And I like that you try and strike a balance between the structure of a very organized and guided onboarding with the flexibility to let the students kind of shine in their own way. Yeah. Jeffrey, how about at Martin Rea?
Yeah, I could talk to that for the students actually do come into Martin Rea with the ability to meet with all the other students. We structure it in a way that they all have the same lunch times. They all have to, pretty much start times are pretty flexible, but certainly roughly around the same area. And the whole point of that is create an ecosystem where the students have a student body, right? That's number one. The second thing is having that student body. We actually have many students that come back over and over and over. And so those eventually retain a position where they mentor the other students. We do pair them up with the first year students or brand new students. We've gone as far as high school students. So now we're actually taking in anybody that's at least 16 years old. So grade 10 and up. Normally, when they turn 16, the time that we actually start. So, we had quite a number of really great success. We had 8 high school students at the grade 10 to grade 11 level come through, where these first year students actually get a chance to tell them about their first year experience at Waterloo or any other university they're currently attending. So that structure of having that student group enables them to be an entity of their own, that they truly understand each other extremely well. We're guided by a lot of the work, all the professionals in the workforce on the floor, as well as in engineering and in quality and in supply chain management to finance and HR. All of those are so accustomed to students, and they know it's part of it, that they pretty much manage students extremely well. It takes some time for an organization to get to that level, but when you do, it's extremely rewarding, because what happens is, they are natural mentors. They're natural, listeners. Actually, more importantly, listeners of what curiosities they have and what types of things that they can envision themselves. And it's an opportunity for them to learn from the students. I always talk to a lot of my managers as well as our professionals in the plant. What did you learn from the students, right? And we don't even call them students anymore. We really call them by name. And as Darian Devinder was saying, we don't say that you're a co-op student, so you do all the paperwork and stuff like that. That's one thing that really can make a difference in onboarding. The second thing is, just like in Pepsi Cola as well, we have the chairman of the company actually come by and do a talk, or we go there. He's invited all the students, and sometimes it's like 60 some odd in Canada anyway, to go and join the General Assembly meeting of shareholders and meet with the CEO, the board of directors, and exchange stories and stuff like that. It is a privilege here to be able to talk to them and listen to the students. The executive vice president of a company that holds down like 50 plants actually specifically comes in to meet just the students, buy them ice cream, and stuff like that. So it's a big deal here, and by making it a big deal in the onboarding or the actual structure of the students, students do feel it, and our plant feels it. That's the benefit of it. Our manufacturing group actually recognize the contributions from the students are real. They're professionals. They're treated like professionals when they come. I know that there's a lot of stuff like the interview that broke the internet by Simon Sinek and stuff like that talk about the issues with that companies need to resolve with a lot of these students coming in, but we don't see that here. Maybe our approach is quite different. We do see students work extremely hard. We give them flexible hours, not so that they can work less. We give them flexible hours because they don't leave here, right? They work quite late as long as they want. One of the groups that developed the autonomous intelligent vehicles, gave it a challenge to purchase 300 nuggets. Okay, that we allow them to expense everything that they do here, and chow down on 300 nuggets. It was a fun day, and they took a picture of it. They created a floral Friday. They wear like a Hawaiian shirt, and they try to force me to wear a Hawaiian shirt on Fridays. Okay, so I got as far as only little flowers all over my shirt. But they have an impact culturally in the organization. They know that. They know that they can, right? And silly little things like that. They gave each other little nicknames, right? And you can't provide your own nickname. You have to be given one. And then we buy them shirts, and they etch them on their shirts, and there's a real belonging.
And I think, sorry, Jeffrey, just to interrupt. I think that's the core of it. There is that you have to create that opportunity for the students to participate and to actually be part and integrated with the broader company. So again, sorry to interrupt. Recognizing we're just at time. I did have one pre-submitted question from the audience that I wanted to quickly get to, and Darren, perhaps if in just a minute or so, if you could just highlight that for the question says, well, not every company can afford to pay high wages. Are there other ways companies can compensate employees through culture and benefits? And Jeffrey, this is kind of speaking to where you were going before. So Darren, perhaps thinking through what are the other ways beyond compensation that you can attract those students?
Well, we are definitely at the bottom end of the wage scale. I'm typically a couple dimes above minimum wage when I bring these guys in for production work on the floor. So how do you bring these people in? So it's the culture that we have within this building. We actually had past students recommend their friends to come here for a co-op, even though it's hard work, but how they got along with all the people within this building. So like at the end of the term, the students get together as a group. They want to take a picture in front of our 800-ton press with them standing in front of the tea stand to show they're operating this huge equipment. We do stuff like you show up, here's a t-shirt, it says Nahani Steel Products on it. Coffee and donut days every Thursday, the last Thursday of the month. We have different cultural things that go on in this building. You come in, there's all the flags hanging in the ceiling for everybody who's born. We have 21 flags up in the roof. This week is Diwali, so it's not coffee and donuts, it's coffee and samosas. So, and just the attitude of, I tell the students, you can make a bad part. It happens. Don't hide it. You make a bad part, just make sure it stays within the building. I'll be upset if it leaves the building. But if you make a bad part or you think there's a bad weld, tell somebody. And there's no yelling. It's like, okay, let's figure this out. What happened? I'm glad you told us. I'm glad we went to the bin. There's no problems. So it's the other little activities. Oh, sorry, we got a basketball net in the front here as well. We got a ping pong table. We got a dartboard. So our press operators will play one-on-one with these guys at lunchtime. So it's the atmosphere that we're trying to bring with these students. We're not paying much above minimum wage for these entry-level first-time co-ops. And even myself, I will spend time with them. End of the day, you got questions. Why do we do something? Why is this operating a certain way? So there's also education going to them as well. And I'll joke with them, because guys, see, like, this is part of the whole compensation package, is the knowledge that you're gaining from this facility. So it's tricky. I used to have 150 co-op students apply for this position. I'm down to about 10, 20. I may have to post 2 times, but if I can get a face-to-face with them and tell them what we do is different, we tell them it's hard work, but the people in this building, they're phenomenal people. Like one of my last comment here, a KPI for me, a measurable for the students. I say there's a couple senior ladies in here, and it says, if the ladies are feeding you their home cooked meals, I know you're doing a good job.
Perfect. Thank you. And I think that speaks to the broader picture that Jeffrey was also mentioning, and Davinder, you mentioned as well, is that you have to create these broad and engaging experiences for the students. And wages are certainly part of the picture, but it's everything that they look at. So recognizing that we're slightly over time, I did want to extend a thank you to all of our panelists for attending and taking part this afternoon.